Pirates. English SF tale written by Alfred Gillett Raskara. 2022, June, July, August, September. Places. 1. Earth planet. 2. Merluzo 20 planet, colonization period. And Edge 3. Turtle 15, pirate hideaway, equals Gemini B equals Pollux and Edge C planet. Date, 3.600 Common Era. Characters, Hero, Devianco Girl, Varina Valmudez. Friend, Otto Birengt. Themes, Gorolos. Inventor, Roxo Ramírez Chief 1, Juvor Chief 2, Guaco Captain Furosemido on board of the cargo spaceship, Captain Furosemido, Wandru the Explorer, Gefrida the Cook, Lamia the Nurse, Jolly Marneth the Engineer, Flight Assistants, Gefrido, Steve, Sol, Marty, Kate, Josephina, Isolda. Tribesmen, Alfranco, Odine. Pirates, Paragorns the Chief, Miracle the Chamberlain. Animals. Colossus, Mimi, Batrasoro, Episorio, Ogmilo, Giraffatin, Retasorio, Prionitant, Nutis, Manadirano, Tremucridon, Achillibator, Etasaurus, Arctosauro, Astrodon. Chapters. Chapter 1. Captain Furosemido ellipsis points. 01. Chapter 2. Who's a city ellipsis points. 05. Chapter 3. The mighty blast ellipsis points. 21. Chapter 4. The Fiat. 22. Chapter 5. The ship. 23. Chapter 6. At the compound. Ellipsis points. 38. Chapter 7. The mission ellipsis points. 47. Synopsis, at the end of the book. Chapter 1. Captain Furosemido. Devianco, 36 years old, recently operated to sea in half-light, looked at the controls and said, "Captain. 20 minutes to be intercepted. Full throttle, then." Captain Furosemido ordered, with a broken tone of voice. Lem again thought about the sexual deviations of that officer. Sure, he was more at ease with a straight man instead of Furosemido. He increased 2 notches the energy required to reach maximum velocity. A red light blinked. "Sir," the system in acute accent s resenting full throttle. Lem advised his superior but the captain needs not advice on the subject, as he knows better. Before long, 3 missiles were launched against the pirates. As the distance was a large one, it was easy for the pirates to avoid the threat by moving sidewise, and also sending counter-missiles. None of Captain Furosemido succeeds. "Turn left," ordered the captain, and the ship zoomed past the enemy forces, not without some damage, while receiving laser beams on the hull. "Sector 3 hit," Officer Watson said by the phone. "The pirates lose terrain, as their ships must turn around." The radio emissions shows their disgust, blaming the commander for this failed strategy. "The race keeps on, for another 40 minutes. Devianco said, 20 minutes to be targeted, Captain. We need to change course." He was saying that, as the original course was towards Período 6th planetary system, and the ship will be targeted days before arrival. 2. Officer Ramber. State alternative course. The voice of Captain Furosemido sounds harsh on the loudspeakers. "Rabino planets have no life in them," somebody said. "Set course for Rabino system," Captain Furosemido said. The ship slides to the left, and soon they were reaching the surface of Rabino 8, the outermost planet of Rabino planetary system. They landed near a big dark mountain and stayed there without external lights. No radio communications at all. Captain Furosemido ordered, that means no personal cell phones could be used inside the ship. Hours passed and grim faces faded, realizing the pirates were not detecting the spaceship in the dark. "Captain. Explorer Mr. Wandru asks permission to leave ship," Devianco said. The eyes of Captain Furosemido revolved around and said, "What for?" "He is telling he could reach the peak of the mountain in order to scan for enemies," Devianco explained. Very well, prepare a dozen volunteers fully armed. Captain Furosemido ordered. Wandru, a former guide in the jungle of Namibia, went to the airlock fully prepared with a helmet and special clothes, as the temperature was -6°C, and with a strong wind. Take care with the slippery rocks, Wandru said to his team before departing. Rotru, a giant in that group, replied, in a cute accent, "I'll be a walk by the park." 3. The team labored into the incline. Notwithstanding the fact the light was minimal due to the large distance to the main star, everyone could see, as they were DNA modified since inception, cones and rods. 2 hours later, they were at the summit of that mountain. A dark landscape opens in front of their eyes, ellipsis points and eyegrasses. No sign of pirates, Wandru murmured. The others seat on rocks, looking through binoculars. They were stationed there for 3 hours, and then began descending. Rotru slips and stumbled for several meters down. After ending on a boulder, he stands up and signaled he wasn't hurt. But when inside the spaceship he discovered he had a burn into his hind leg, due to a small slit on his special suit. The atmosphere in a cute accent is full of dangerous fumes. He rumbled out, looking at his leg, ellipsis point 4. Captain Furosemido said, "Report to the medical assistant. Don acute accent to let that injury makes you ill." Big Rotru accented and walked towards infirmary. There he found Idana, the nurse, who looked onto the wound and applied a regenerative cream, saying, "You will be alright in a trifle. This medicine in acute accent is superb. You are superb here, damsel. What about a dirty little kiss?" Rotru said, grabbing her left arm. "Don acute accent, you dare touch me, big ape," the fair-haired girl said, trying to release her arm from his grip. "Hug, hug. Don acute accent, fight it, dearly. Imagine how healthier our kids will be." And he was now kissing her breasts. "Brute!" she managed to scream. But the burly guy was adamant. In some few strokes, left her body naked. "Wow! I didn't imagine you were so hot," the big Rotru said in a husky voice. She gets alarmed when he opens the zipper of his trousers and now yelled in panic. Dr. Gordon Flanco were sleeping in a stretcher, awakes and realizing there could be happening a rape. He searched for a needle and a somniferous, and inserts it on the hairy buttocks of Big Rotru, who was too busy to pay any attention to a bite. Dr. Gordon Flanco grabs Rotru by the neck and pulled backwards, but the giant seemingly didn't acute accent notice it. Idana moaned and suddenly Rotru was collapsing over the woman. 5. With the screams, some other crewmen appeared, and helped the doctor, while putting aside the body of Rotru, ellipsis point, what a monster. One of the newcomers said, looking at certain part of the big rapist. She acute accent is in shock. Dr. Gordon Flanco said, eyeing the naked woman. Gefredo, the cook, appears and puts a blanket over Idana, saying, "Let acute accent s put her upon a bed. Doctor, look, if she needs stitching." The doctor cleans her parts, studied it a little and said, "I will need to stitch her. Please lend a hand." And taking the necessary equipment from a drawer, he repairs her vagina, as best he could. She acute accent s awakening. "Hurry, put her some sedative or she will get nuts." The cook said, being a man, the doctor tends to obey a woman acute accent s voice, and he did what he was told. Idana stops moving. "Is she dead?" somebody asked. She acute accent s just sedated. "Make room, gentlemen. The show is over." Dr. Gordon Flanco said to the 8 crewmen assembled there. Hours later, Dr. Gordon Flanco repeats his intervention, curing and clean up, where it was necessary. Nurse Lamia was furious against Rotru the Big, saying that monster must be heavily punished. In acute accent s a dangerous person. Lobotomy must be practiced on him. Human rights are not to be avoided. A certain punishment must be exerted, of course. Lobotomy in acute accent s certainly not used, if there is no dangerous carcinoma on his brain. Dr. Gordon Flanco said. Captain Furosemido visited Rotru at his cabin, asking for answers, ellipsis point, "You have committed a crime. You will be punished accordingly. I need an explanation here, he said. I went out of control, sir. I apologize. The man said, looking abated. I heard that she begged you to stop. Have you not humanitarian instincts? And as Captain Furosemido asks. I did have, but the desire was too strong to fight against. Now I will accept any punishment you orders. Roxo said. By now, you will be concealed in here. I will call for a meeting with my officers, to see what we are going to do with you. Captain Furosemido said. At the reunion, some members were in accord to leave Roxo at his cabin indefinitely, and others opt for a cryogenization procedure until the return to base. This last option was accepted, and Roxo was put on a case and cryogenized until further order. Idana recovered from her injuries but mentally was another matter, and become silent and without the will to live. 4 days later, Captain Furosemido sent another team to reach the peak of the mountain in order to see if there were signs of enemy forces. Wandru and 6 of the crewmen were climbing in the dark, when captured by a military force of the pirates. Wandru was forced to return to the ship and call for entrance. The gate was opened and the enemy enters the ship and sees the crew not without a fight. 3 crewmen were injured badly and 1 of the pirates died. Another group of the pirates arrives and after some time, lifted the spaceship from the ground, and in company of other spaceships, went towards Turtle 15, a planet orbiting Gemini B, their stronghold. They landed there 8 days later. The planet was shining blue in the darkness of space, a diamond-like orb. The pirates disembarked the prisoners and jailed them in a cavern. There they sit on some stones, waiting at night. The guard come with a couple of pails and said, eat. For 3 days the same guard appears, bringing food, that were obviously left over from somebody. Acute accent S table ellipsis points. They are feeding us with garbage. We must escape or we will all die in here. Captain Furosemido said, while chained to a wall. If they don't acute accent T kill us before. Devianco said, who was next to him. Have faith. Somebody said in the dark. Hours later they unchained them and brought to daylight, at a yard full of pebbles. A group of jailers, with sticks on their hands, were in front of them. One jailer said, you are a bunch of criminals, you killed one of our crew. Now you become slaves. We are freemen and you ought to return us our ship. Captain Furosemido said, but the jailer hit him with his stick. Women to a side, ordered the jailer, and when the 5 women were separated from the captain acute accent S men, they were guided to a truck that soon it was out of sight. You, slaves, will work for your food. Now walk to the truck. The jailer said. When at the truck, the driver takes them to a faraway mountain, where they become miners. There were also some other slaves, and from them they learned that what they were digging for was copper. The shifts were of 6 hours each. Hard work, but then they went to the barracks outside the mine, where they could bathe, eat and then rest in bed for 8 hours elapsed time. They were free to walk on the outside of the barracks, but the place was barren, only boulders and rocks to be seen. 9. Also the climate was awful cold and windy. The copper was sent into trucks to another facility, to grind the material, melted and finally storage transformed in thick slabs. These guys are sending those slabs somewhere else, to be changed in wires and what acute accent S not. Captain Furosemido indicates. This forced labor is killing my kidneys. Lem said, from the next bed. We must wait some opportunity to escape. Surely we are not to stay here forever. Watson said, who was the former second controller at the spaceship. At least we could rest several hours in a row. Wandru commented, stretching his legs over his bed. Nobody complained about the food. Every afternoon after the shift, there were served a lot of food in bowls, groceries, meat, fruits aplenty. Their captors wants them strong to be able to work hard. By her part, the women were working at hydroponics. From there grows the food for the miners. Meat was also obtained from a machine that produces meat using a fast-growing organic matter, a kind of organ that grows without a brain. This machine was used by the pirates themselves, hiding the fact from their slaves. The pirates want them to believe they were eating the meat from natural animals. 10. Chapter 2. Husa City. Faragorns, the supreme chief of the pirates, lives in full luxury at Husa City. He was not preoccupied of the law and order, so the city was an open city for any swindle, fraud, cheating, theft, injustice that there is. Bullets and laser rays were flying day and night. People die for a couple of credits. Nobody really owns anything, gangs fight one another. Nothing of it worries Faragorns, who have an army to defend his property. We must have more women. Too many guys in the streets. Faragorn said, seated at a table with the minor captains of his fleet. He also has some of them with fake titles, like a chamberlain, that in that moment said, "Sire, you already have 20 wives." Faragorn moves a hand as shooing a fly, and growled, "Who wants the same women during 3 large months? I need fresh ones, happy to be here, funny and young." In fact, the 20 women acute accent sh were from 30 to 40 years old. Many of them were old prostitutes, while 2 or 3 were captured women in 1 or 2 raids on civilized small towns. They say there are 5 new women at hydroponics. "Governor, you should ask to see them." "Miracle," the chamberlain said. The eyes of Faragorns, now called governor, but some other times with titles of nobility that were only for the consumption of Faragorn's hunger for recognition, sparkled and said, "Send them to me. But first, see that they take a bath and give them fancy clothes. And shoes to match. Hope they are not too ugly." At 16 hours the order arrives to hydroponics. Chamberlain Miracle sent them to the baths, saying, "You will meet our governor-in-chief, the mighty Faragorns. Now you take a shower, and I will provide you with clean clothes." 11. Varina said, "What could want the mighty from us? Kisses and caresses?" Miracle smiled and said, "I ignore it, damsel. Just obey or your destiny will be to return to hydroponics in a trifle. We are no whores, mister. I will not accept any concubinage your big pirate could design for me." Gefrida the cook said, in a harsh voice. After the bath, they found new clothes and shoes on a bench. "Well, what do you know? Fine clothes at last. I was sick to be wearing men acute accent-s clothes," Gefrida the cook said. At 18 hours they were carried to Faragorn's palace. In the voyage there they saw people in the street committing fights, rows and even sexual acts without any shame or remorse. "What a dump. These people are a bunch of savages," Lamia murmured in terror. The others shriek at these events. The palace was a brick-and-mortar hideous barrack with many passages. A street ends at its garage, and keeps on, after it. Nobody passed freely by the gate. A garrison of gruesome guards sees that common people could never get inside. They enter and after a walk by cold corridors, ended on a big saloon, where Faragorns was waiting. 12. Here are the recently captured visits, sir, the chamberlain announced with a hollow voice. "Good. Let us see," the man in his 40s said, approaching the women one by one. "About Adana," he said, after looking on her all around, "this girl is a flower, but somebody broke her will to live. Tell me who was the demon, and I will punish him." Adana keeps silent, and Gefrida speaks for her. "Sir, it was a giant of a man that brutally raped her." "Oh, and where can I found him?" Faragorn asked mildly. "At our ship, sir. The one that your men captured at Planeta Rabino 8. The ex-cook said. Faragorn rubbed his chin and said, "I will see to it," and looked on the rest. He murmured to himself looking at the cook, "You are too fat for my taste. Chamberlain, return this woman to hydroponics." While the cook was being guided away, not in a silent way, Faragorn looks onto Lamia. He murmured, "Thin, almost beautiful, dark eyes ellipsis points, I see hatred in them. I will send her away, because she is revengeful and could kill me in my sleep." Then he looks on Jolly Marnef, and muttered, "A sympathetic lady. I will keep her near." So he gives Adana, Lamia and Jolly a place in his bedroom that was located after a dark and humid corridor. This guy wants us for himself. I heard him saying so. Lamia said, horrified. Hope we could have been sent to hydroponics. Humid, damp, but safe from this brute. Jolly commented. The guard opened the thick door, and said, this is now, for you to share with our governor and his 20 wives. And pushed them inside, closing the door with a slam. Horrified, the 3 women stared at the women on the room. They were pretty, but their stares were hard as marble. How is that you end up in here? So skinny? A woman asked, and as nobody replied, the woman keeps saying, you will not stand here for long. Soon our man will realize you are nothing but sacks of bones. And laughed. 2 or 3 others accompanied her in the mocking laughter, the rest just stared at the recently arrived women. After 30 minutes being here, the door opens and Faragorn appears with the chamberlain and 5 guards. He said, oh, you already arrived here. Good, now let a cute accent SC and approaching them the group of 20 women, he chooses 3 of them, saying to the guards, take these women and guided them to the cryogenic laboratory. Their duties here are ended. And among the 3 eradicated women was the one who addressed Adana, Lamia and Jolly. 14, the chamberlain and the guards, plus the 3 women recently rejected by the chief of the pirates went out of the room, closing the door after them. Faragorn said to the women, prepare your beds. And the women put carpets on the floor, and many cushions. Also, they covered themselves with blankets. Faragorn takes Adana and Lamia by the hand, saying, come. You will rest next to me. I acute accent am anxious to hear your stories. Some women dimmed the lights, and everyone lay on the carpets, putting their heads over the pillows, covered their bodies with more blankets, while Faragorn asked questions to the 3 recently arrived women, who were not so scared now of that man, seeing he was kind and gentle towards them. The 3 women told everything about their lives, how they climb onto a spaceship to visit Gorolos' planet, but taken by the pirates, ending at Gemini B -3 planet before getting asleep. Faragorn said to them, while I live as the chief here, you will be safe of any violence. I want you to look on me as a friend. Your days of misery are over. And not one of those women has the courage to contradict him. Soon they realized that the man didn't acute accent force anyone to have sex with him. On the contrary, the women were eager to have him between their legs. This was because women have desires of sexual intercourse each 20 days during the year. It acute accent as a physiologic need that surmounted any intellectual rule. It just happens that and the not verbalized competition among 20 women to catch the only man available. Also, as the intercourse was in the open, makes them hear moaning and noises that cannot be avoided being in only one chamber. No matter it was huge. Adana said, pulling at the memories of the rape, for my part, I will never have intercourse with a man. 8 days after they were enclosed there, Faragorn said, we have a competition each 6 months. I invite you all to attend it. Jolly asked, is it some flower exhibition? No. It acute accent as a match between prisoners and a Gorolos. Faragorn said. What is a Gorolos? Lamia asked. A Gorolos is a native animal that walks in 2 legs belonging to a race biologically created at one of those so-called civilized societies, and was brought here inadvertently, and they run to the forest, where they now live in dangerous numbers. Faragorn explained. But why make them fight a man? I call that sheer cruelty. Adana said. Well, my dear, the men confronting those beasts are criminals. Instead of to put a bullet in their brains, I give them the opportunity to win his freedom. And also teaches others not to behave badly. Faragorn said. He didn't acute accent mention the fact that lots of people make bets on one or the other combatant Certainly the stakes were on the monsters but once in a much reduced time, a man wins. There was a stadium of sorts in the city. Entrance was payment free. The governor Faragorns have a special site, separated from the rest, also with a roof. In there he seats with his women, all clad in black robes from head to foot, so nobody could see, if they were beauty or not, young or old. Also at the opposite side of the arena was a similar balcony for the captains of the pirate fleet. The arena was just the size of a soccer field, with an iron fence 3 meters high all around. A music band makes the gathering heard joyfully songs, not always in tune. Feragorns raise his arm and from a gate comes out a hideous creature, the like nobody wants in their nightmares. The head was disproportioned related with his body, but the thorax and extremities were wide and strong looking. The paws come with black sharpened nails capable of slice any kind of flesh. The teeth were abundant and sharpened. The creature looked through evil eyes. The stench produced by the body was of decomposition. 17. The mob cheered, as if seeing a rock star, and many of the gatherings laughed in shock. The band begins playing a strange melody and the Gorolos begin to move in circles, much to the amusement of the crowd. Then, from another gate, appeared 3 men clad in armor. The bronze shines like gold, also their helmets, javelin and shields. At the ankles they used dried plates of leather, also at their feet. The Gorolos stops in his dance and turns against the newcomers. The 3 men approaches from different sides, and when near, the Gorolos chooses the smallest of the 3 to attack. It runs very quickly and grabs an arm, crunching on it. The sound of broken bones was heard by the crowd that cheered. The ladies near the governor hide the view by putting a hand over their eyes. Ellipsis points. The governor smiled, as he was accustomed to these occurrences, as the scene has repeated throughout the years, while he was at the city. The rest of the humans clubbed on the Gorolos that now was on the ground, munching on that arm, as it was a cookie. No matter how many times the 2 warriors inserted their javelins on the chest and back of the monster, the Gorolos keeps on eating on the bellowing man, now unable to fight properly. One of the warriors begins banging his shield on the head of the Gorolos that begins to growl in fury. 18. Giving a sudden twist, the Gorolos grabbed an arm of that second warrior, cutting and severing the arm that falls to the ground still gripping the javelin. Yelling, the warrior tries to escape, but the Gorolos goes after him and bits on his chest, twisting the breastplate with a screeching sound. The third warrior attacks by the rear, trying to penetrate the scales, but to not avail. Seeing he wasn't acute accentee able to kill the beast, he began to run away, but after the Gorolos eats the limbs of the second warrior, seemingly went tired and rests on his back. The only warrior left comes back and again tries to wound the animal. This time he stick the javelin on one of the monster acute accent's eye. This infuriated the Gorolos, that chased the warrior until grabbing one of his leg, that chomped amid the terrible screams of that unfortunate warrior. Not satisfied with these events, the gatekeeper released more humans against the beast, in rows of 3 criminals each time. 3 hours later and 8 warriors dead, the Gorolos was finally killed, receiving 25 javelins at different parts of his scaled body. The arena was cleansed and a race of carts pulled by horses ensued. This lasted half an hour in all, winning a big muscled man that receives a silver cup as a trophy. 19. The governor and his damsels retired, and not because of their departure the event was to be finished. Other races and games keeps on occurring after the light of day was over. At the communal bedroom, most of the women were in shock and silent. Feragorn arrives past midnight, as he was attending a banquet. He went to his bedroom, where 3 women were half asleep. He said, "My damsels, I expect you are in comfort in this room?" The women replied in a positive way, and one of them added, "We are very upset after looking the hideous massacre on the arena. Hope we could see never again that awful spectacle." Feragorn said, "We provide those awful spectacles and as you say, to make the males discharge their wrath and discomfitures. Now they must be relaxed, comparing the fate of those unfortunates killed in the arena, with their own petty lives. What is poverty in front of a gruesome killing? A blessing. Peace comes by devious ways. Peace in the streets and at their homes. The oppression of unfortunate men achieved goals, while the acute accent in front of those maimed and wounded they saw in the arena." Feragorn said, embracing women right and left of his ample bed, 20. Meanwhile, at the mines, Lem and his comrades were planning to escape. He was saying, "We will make a roaring explosion these guys have never seen the like. We have 28 sticks of dynamite ready to blow half the mine. I suggest we act as soon as possible, because these occurrences always fail when giving much rope to burn, so to speak." Watson, the controller in flight, said eagerly, "We acute accent LL do it, after we enter the mine. Be prepared. We acute accent LL run to the entrance, no matter if the guards stay on our way. Better a club on the belly to be torn into pieces by the explosion," Captain Furosemido said, coughing. Watson was the one in charge to put fire onto the fuse. He waited some seconds to be sure the fuse was working, and escaped from there at a run. "What acute accent is he doing, running amok?" a burly kind of man said, when looking how Watson was jumping and running as a madman. The team of Captain Furosemido begins to yell and run, much to the surprise from the guards, that didn't acute accent see the cause to be running. "What acute accent is happening?" and then the guard asked Captain Furosemido, who was up in front. "Avalanche!" yelled the captain, passing alongside the now scared guard. Ellipsis points 21. Chapter 3. The Mighty Blast. "We are near the entrance and still no explosion," Captain Furosemido yelled. "Wait. The fuse was a very large one," Watson said, running and stumbling over the ground. Suddenly they felt a lack of sound and then a roar, and a cloud of dust followed by flings of rocks in every size. One of them knocks unconscious Captain Furosemido and 3 guards practically ends beheaded. The gate was closed, but the gust of wind knocked it down, as if was made of thin paper. Several corpses were seen flying out of the entrance of the mine tunnel, without heads or limbs. A big tremor ensued, and the cave gives way, entombing everyone. After the explosion occurred, the ones from Furosemido acute accent F spaceship were among the very few that survives, whereas Captain Furosemido suffers a terrible concussion that provokes his death hours later. Watson forces the group to walk away from the mine, giving a detour through the mountains that lasted 3 days without food. They descend towards a valley, where they found a lagoon. "Look! Giant animals!" Roger calls for attention. "Pachycephalosaurus. Herbivores. Nothing to worry about," Ramber commented gaily. 22. The Valley of the Piratas. They drink and take a bath, washing also their ragged dirty stained clothes that they put to dry over some branches, as the main star was shooting hot. Wandru worked with others setting traps and said, "I doubt we can get a prey in open daylight. But I acute accent am sure we acute accent LL find animals in it tomorrow. Hope you are right. But now, why don't we hunt for eggs?" Ramber the programmer said. A group of 3 naked men began to walk by the border of that lagoon, avoiding the presence of the Piratas, that were animals weighing several tons each, and herbivores or not, they certainly could provoke harm, if willing. They found small eggs in a ditch. Roger the flight assistant said, "They don't acute accent seems to belong to these Piratas at all. Must be smaller creatures. Come what may, I will eat them likewise," Wandru said, eating a couple of them. "How it tastes?" Roger asked him. "I don't acute accent recommend them. It tastes like mud," Wandru commented. As they were thinking to eat rather than explore, they went to the bushes, where certainly they did find bigger eggs. "These looks great. But I presume the Piratas will not agree to let us eat these offspring. I guess we better eat them away from them," Wandru said. 23. We should call the rest of us to eat right here. No way that we could be shown carrying Pachycephalosaurus eggs with their mother in sight, Roger commented. "I will go fetch them here. Wait for me. Don't acute accent eat them all," Wandru said. Dr. Gordon Flanco, Devianco approaches, guided by Wandru. They saw the eggs, and Dr. Gordon Flanco said, worriedly, "But those are Pachycephalosaurus eggs. We are depriving of young ones to the herd. Better than to starve to death, doctor." "Tell me when was the last time you ate?" Wandru asked him. Well, about 2 days ago. But notwithstanding that, I will regret what we are going to do, if you keep on thinking it a cute accent's good to eat dinosaur eggs. Dr. Gordon Flanco said. And he eats just one of those eggs. He should have not worried so much, as the Paracephalosaurus hatched eggs each 6 months, 6 per season. And there were several females in sight. They used the rest of that day to build a log cabin, with a roof made of bark. We have no fire. Pity, we are going to freeze tonight. Dr. Gordon Flanco said. Oh, do you want a fire? I can provide with one. Wandru said, and while he was starting a fire, the rest went for branches to burn. 24. They lit the fire in front of the hut, and later they dug a hole inside the hut and brought cinders inside. Oh, nice warmth. Like at home. Wandru said, blinking one eye. That night they lit a fire in front of the log cabin, and slept over some bushes, for lack of a bed. In the morning, Watson the second controller said, we must recover our female crewmates. Certainly our captain is dead, but someone must take his place. Ramber, the former programmer, said, we are about to start here, and you thinking to recover the girls? Give me a break. Dr. Gordon Flanco said, now we are 6 men and over there are 5 women. Certainly we must proceed with wisdom. First we must set a course of action. How we get food, and then go after them. Certainly we must find a way to enter the city. Whoever it is. I guess it a cute accent a sea town. Almost every city it's on the verge of the ocean. Food and boats are great incentives to raise a city. Wandru said. Great. So now we are going to search for the beach. We don't a cute accent know where are we standing, and you talking about rescues and big seaports. Ramber laughed. We must prepare ourselves. First thing is to make some weapons to be able to hunt, and then we must pinpoint the 4 cardinal points. Where is the north? Watson asked. Usually the sun. Well, here is a star, raises from the north. And I am looking at the star. He is going to the south right now. So there is the west. Wandru said, pointing to his left. Good. Now we must prepare traps to get prey, and then we acute accent LLC, if we can't so hide and makes us some clothes. Our fine uniforms are in rags right now. Watson said. 25. So, they have work to do, and they apply onto it. They set traps around camp, and searches for fruits, that they didn't acute accent find any. That night they slept with empty stomachs and the grumbling of innards that raised no little laughter. Early in the morning, they went out to see, if the traps get some prey, and they only found a rat in one of the traps, who were looking mean. They release it, and the little mammal runs to the bushes. They roam the forest in search of a prey, and find a colossus, that approaches them without fear. They throw on him every club and stone they could and kill the little animal. We have meat. Devianco said, taking the animal from the ground. It was hard work to skin it, but when the work was done, a fire among stones was ready to roast it. 3 hours later, everyone obtains a little parcel of the meat, and more than one of them licks the bones. I will walk to the west. Perhaps we could find better hunting grounds in that direction. Wandru said. But, and our hut? Are we going to sleep in the open? Roger asked, looking at the log cabin. Yes, we must leave it for someone who wishes to sleep well. But we must eat. And around here, no way the cute accent is the appropriate site. Dr. Gordon Flanco said, with rumbling stomach. They walked through the forest at a good pace, and in mid-afternoon they saw several strange quadrupeds. So Ramber asked, what are those strange beasts? Seems like camels. No, they are mimi. Well, sort of mimi, anyway. Animals belonging to the dinosaur species. Just like the small animals we eat several hours ago. Dr. Gordon Flanco said, who have some studies on old animals from planet Earth, but in here, and much to his surprise, he was finding dinosaurs almost equal in size and physical form as the old and extinct dinosaurs of Mother Earth. We are assured not to be deprived of fruits. These animals cannot reach high, Ramírez said, laughing. 25. The fruit trees. They stayed there for 8 days. Also they walked around, to the extent of 10 kilometers, finding a ravine full of parrots. There were fruit trees there too, but for them was almost impossible to reach any fruit, as there were many spikes on entangled bushes. When walking near the ravine, they saw the smoke in the upper atmosphere trail almost rectilinear. Ramírez said, that was made by the exhaust of a spaceship. It acute accent s no wonder. The pirates use this planet as their main base. Roxo explained. I wonder if they have more cities on this planet. Wandru said. I expect not. Pirates are evil men and like a disease. I hope they have an acute accent decontaminated the whole planet. Dr. Gordon Flanco commented. That night an elevator terrorized the zone. Many shrill sounds were heard. A carnivore is eating those poor men. Ramírez said. Well, better we hide in silence. Dr. Gordon Flanco murmured. Hours later, they heard stomping that was fading, while the beast was going away. Seems it is leaving now. Hope he is satisfied. Ramírez said. 26. They waited the light of day to leave the place, as Dr. Gordon Flanco was saying that the big dinosaurs own a zone that they revise several days during the month. Now the terrain was a vast plain with scattered trees and long grass and bushes. The weather was cloudy and the humid atmosphere was telling that possibly a rain will follow. They advanced with precautions. 2 enormous giraffes were grazing there, and there was difficult for them not to be spotted due to the fact the dinosaurs were so tall that were able to see around up to a minimal detail. Dr. Gordon Flanco said, they possibly look on us as not harmful beasts, so just walk at a steady pace and we will be soon out of their sight. Half an hour later, a heavy downpour begins, and the silhouette of these amazing animals begins to look dim in the distance. They made a hut using branches and a roof with leaves. Under that very insufficient place they waited for the rain to stop, but the night arrives and the rain keeps on. 27. Chapter 4. The Stream. With the morning light, the rain decreased its fury and the men stretched their limbs, ready for another day of marches. Hope we could find food. Also, if we keep on marching, our souls will disappear. Ramírez said. If we find the sea, we will not need shoes at all. Dr. Gordon Flanco commented. Exactly. But I am wrong, or we are going to find mountains in our path? Ramírez said, putting a hand above his eyes to see at the distance. Soon Gordon Flanco said, yes, I guess there are blue mountains in front of us. The rest just kept silent, not to become anguished. A stream was detected after another hour of march. Water. Hope the acute accent s clean. Gordon Flanco said, and yes, it was clear water running by that stream. The acute accent s cold, as ice. Ramírez said, after some gulps. They also saw some fish swimming along, so they built a dike using rocks so the fishes get entrapped. They used nets to catch fish and they obtained 12 of them in that particular occasion. 6 were nice silvery, half a kilogram in weight. They roast them using some wood, while they also take the scales with sharpened stones. We must not make havoc of the environs, as some people uses to do. We are civilized men, and we must act in accord with that. Dr. Gordon Flanco said. They erected a small hut and put some wide leaves on top. The doctor asks permission to take a nap, as he was really tired. You just repose, doctor. We will stay out. Ramírez said, but in fact, they walked down to the stream, looking for bigger fish. They again used the trick with the boulders and get 4 more fishes, these ones weighing 3 kilograms each. They roasted them, cleaning the scales and throwing the innards to the stream. They eat and reserve some meat for Dr. Gordon Flanco. When returning to the hut, they saw him preparing a fire for the night. Doctor, we brought some more fish for you. We get some big ones. Devianco said, and helped with the fire, while Watson gives the parcel with the meat to Dr. Gordon Flanco, who thanked and seeks to eat. 28. That night there were no growling or stomping of big animals, notwithstanding that more than one slept by intervals. At the next day, they tried to fish again, and they could bring 3 large fish to the fire. After eating, they kept walking, now in full view of those big blue mountains, while still among tall grass that resembles a sea, as the stems moves under the breeze that blows from the west. When facing the mountains, they were looking at a chain of mountains impossible to cross in their present position. We cannot cross by here. Look. Smaller mountains that gives way to bigger ones at their backs. Watson said. We must walk south, having the mountains at our right. In some place these mountains must disappear. Roger commented. All right. Let acute accent keep on. Ramber said, clapping his hands together. While walking, they found lots of creeks and ponds, everyone with very cold waters, as those mountains have ice in their peaks that goes down without warming. At acute accent cold. Are you sure we are heading south? Devianco asked. Hopefully yes. Could be that we are marching to the southeast. But not in any other way. Dr. Gordon Flanco stated, while walking helped by a stick in his right hand. 30. At mid-afternoon they arrived to a wide dry riverbed that comes from the south. A trickle of water was all that was flowing. They descended and crossed to the other side, a hard climbing through weeds and loosened rocks. Dr. Gordon Flanco managed to arrive to the top, helped by Ramber and Roger. Not 500 meters away, a dense forest begins. While walking inside, the rotten leaves and branches were 1 meter high. Suddenly, a sad trumpet-like call, that lasted 1 full minute. What acute accent is that? Devianco asked, looking surprised. Must be a giraffe. Those animals call each other by trumpeting like that. Dr. Gordon Flanco said. But, doctor, how do you know that? In our planet these kinds of animals are totally extinct. Ramber exclaimed, moving his head sidewise. I have read reporters from daring explorers, mainly at my club. I have seen videos, that acute accent why I have some knowledge about them. Dr. Gordon Flanco replied. They built a simple hut and slept inside, under the rumor of the wind passing among the trees. No food. I hope we don't acute accent to eat our bones in this wilderness. Ramber commented. We must hunt. I doubt that we could find fruits in here. Devianco said. 31. At dawn, Devianco went out of the hut and walked around, finding many edible mushrooms. The problem was how to boil water without a cooking pot. He returns to the hut, where nobody was too anxious to keep on going. At mid-morning the men went out of the hut and began marching. Not sure of any direction, as the main star was an acute accent visible because of the many trees. They saw imprints on the ground, probably from big dinosaurs not yet seen. After 2 hours of march, the ground began an incline, and after the trees they arrived to a place where rocks were present in front of them, a giant expanse of mountains of red rock, precipices and towers hundreds of meters high. They ceased to observe, and Roger said, we are doomed. It acute accent a desert of rock. And as there was no way they could survive descending down there, they retraced their steps and returned to the forest that now looks almost good to the eye. In a stream they fish, using the same procedure of dikes, and with only 3 fishes they eat dinner that night, after erecting a hut made of branches and leaves. Who knows to what part of the compass we are heading now? Devianco said. We must wait for the morning to be sure of it. Roger commented. They get into the hut, and at midnight there was a rumor outside. So Dr. Gordon Flanco went out to see, but in the darkness only the embers of the fire they used to roast the fish were dimly seen. Even that faint light serves the doctor to see the silhouette of a big animal rummaging in front of him. Then he saw another bulky animal not 4 paces away. The doctor grabs a stone from the ground and throws it to the nearest of them, but instead of makes him retreat, it charges with a reverberating roar. The brute dashed by and plunged into the center of the hut, smashing the rear end, making the whole flimsy construction to the ground. Human screams ensued, and the men run out of the sight in terror. The second animal runs to the woods, perhaps alarmed with the bedlam. Several minutes passed until the group reassembled itself again, and Ramber asked, "What was that?" Dr. Gordon Flanco, now half recovered from the impression, said, "Something the size of a donkey, perhaps a pin-like mammal with a short proboscis, very curious looking. I was out looking what was a noise I heard, while lying inside the hut. What a thing! You should have awakened us, Doctor. I almost die of the shock," Ramber said in disgust. 33.